For those of you who are here for the first time, we want to start with the pledge of allegiance. I'm going to ask the trustee model to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Pressure's on.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before you sit, folks, we'll just take a moment to think about those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country, and then a quick prayer for those who are serving currently. Thank you very much. All right, folks, we have a very exciting agenda here tonight. I'll let you be the judge of that, but that's my So what we're going to do is we're going to start with one of our most fun agenda items, and that is welcoming the new police officer to our force. If I can ask Christina Smith to come forward, please.
Mr. Smith, if you could, you sit down, you cite after me. I
I, Christina Smith,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York
and the Constitution of the State of New York
and the laws and ordinances of the Village of Garden City,
and the laws and ordinances in the Village of Garden City,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer with the Garden City Police Department
the duties of police officer in the Garden City Police Department
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
by the powers vested in me as the Police Commissioner of Village of Garden City. You are now duly sworn.
So I always get this backwards. Commissioner, I think you have a little bio to share with us.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Good luck. She knows that. Yes. A police recruit, Christina Smith is a proud veteran of the U.S. Air Force. She served only as an aircraft ignition system technician and achieved the rank of staff sergeant. That is a very important position. Anybody who's loading and unloading ammunitions on aircraft. When I saw that, I said, I gotta have this person. Originally from Levittown, New York, and a Division Avenue High School graduate, she later continued her education at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, pursuing a passion for law enforcement community service. Known for her professionalism, reliability, compassion, Christina embodies the Air Force values of integrity, excellence, and service before self. She's honored to join the police department and looks forward to continuing her service for us with dedication. Just to tell you a little bit about her, when you go to academy, they always punish you for no reason, and they had to do extra push-ups, and she liked it. So, I said, sorry, I had to, I said, no, I like it. So, we're looking forward, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, folks, we'll get right to the item number 4 on the agenda, which is quick resident comments. So the rules here are, folks, if you cannot stay until the appropriate period where your comments would normally be taken. You can reduce, not reduce, you can recite them in about 1 minute or less, please step forward.
Good evening, Suzanne Dowling, 67 Felton Avenue. And hello again. I'm here once again, revisit the saga of 7N parking and parking permit that was restored to us in September of this past year. Several of my colleagues are here to go a little bit further. I will take a bit more time. But I look forward to being part of further discussion about this particular track that you've taken. We've been to the Traffic Commission. They know all about us. We've been referred back to the Board of Trustees. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Allen. Yes, ma'am.
Francine Wrong, I'm a neighbor and friend of Suzanne's. Just have a few words.
Of course.
This August, as everyone probably knows, the residents of Hilton Hall received a notice that going forward, there would be a $200 annual fee for parking in 7N, our home parking lot. This change was made without any consultation with the residents. We just got the bill and were treated very badly by this lapse. Most of the residents at Hilton Hall are elderly and need parking spaces close to the building. Home parking spaces they can physically manage. The residents, mostly lifelong residents of Garden City, deserve to be treated with respect and care and thoughtfulness. And we strongly feel that this includes a provision for free spaces to park out cars in 7N. With respect, everyone else, including commuters, parks in 7N, whether for a few hours, a few days, or a few weeks, and whether or not they are residents of Garden City. If this fee remains in place, we will continue to be the only group using 7N that will be required to pay, and as such, we feel we are being treated unfairly and disrespectfully.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate your comments.
My name is Kathleen O'Hara, and I too live at 67 Hilton Avenue. And my concern is that, yes, the way we were treated, even though I heard that the board gave something to the office over at Hilton Hall, that was never passed on to us. No one on this board, I think, followed up to see if we were informed. So the first time I knew about it is when I received the letter in the mail, which I was like, I couldn't believe this team here did that. You know, the support that we give this team, these trustees and the committees, it just, I wouldn't treat anybody like that. And I'm so disappointed. And I care about the people that live in my building, especially those that are plus 70, that are still forced to drive. And all we're asking for is to have space that is close to the building and with no fee, which the board unanimously agreed in 2021. Little did I know then that we would have to revisit this every time there was a new board. And I think that was something this board should have informed us of, that a unanimous vote 4 years ago turns into a secretive amendment, or whatever you want to call it, to charge us. And $200 for some people in our building that live on a fixed income.
is a lot of money. And there are people also that have handicap parking, which you don't pay for that placard, but then are concerned about not being able to get a handicap spot by the building, that they'd have to go down as far as Key Food to get a handicap spot. Thank you for listening to me, and I'd like for the board to take into consideration so that next year, when this comes up again, we can actually have a good discussion about it, and it's not handled, under the table where we are slapped with this. Thank you.
And thank you, Mrs. O'Hara. I think I know that this conversation has been ongoing. I was involved with it, and I know the Traffic Commission was as well. One thing that we didn't do well is communicate. And so I think you've probably heard that from this bench before. So we will do a much better job next year. And thank you, all three women, for coming in this evening. All right. Is there anyone else who has a very brief comment before we get into the bulk of the agenda? Yes.
Sam Myers, I also live in Hilton Hall. I just wanted to point out that once the village put in the permit-only areas, the town has been benefiting from the $50 ticket that is issued instantaneously when an officer, and they hang out in our parking lot, I promise you, for people that park erroneously in the 7N lot. So it is producing revenue for the village. That's my point.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone else? Excellent. Thank you, folks, very much. So we'll move on to the approval of minutes of the regular meeting held on October 9. Do I have a motion? All in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll move to comments by department heads, village administrator, et cetera, et cetera. And we will start with Mr. Baroni from DPW.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. DPW will be covering 17 items on the agenda this evening. We'll try to keep it short and sweet. Item number 7 is a request to accept the maintenance bond in the amount of $1,097,938.38 for the Clayton Road Blower Building Replacement Project. Acceptance of this bond guarantees the work for 18 months from the date of acceptance. Village Council has reviewed and approved the maintenance bond as to form. Item number 8, this is a request for approval of the supplemental proposal submitted by LKMA in the amount of $6,880 for the Meadow Street Drainage Improvement Project. The additional work is required to identify the remaining sanitary sewer house connections necessary to complete the design. Due to the depth of the existing sanitary sewer lines and the limitations of our current locating equipment, it has been difficult to accurately determine their locations. The proposed work includes the use of ground penetrating radar technology to locate these lines. Item number 9, this is a request for approval to purchase a new leaf vacuum and related components under the Sourcewell contract at a total cost of $69,684.50. The existing leaf picker, purchased in 1997, has exceeded its useful life and is due for replacement. This was approved in the fiscal year budget. Item number 10, this is a request for approval to piggyback off the Nassau County Requirements Contract for the maintenance and repair of water mains, which is awarded to Banker Construction Corp. The contract will be used on an as-needed basis to replace undersized mains and to replace undersized or inoperable hydrants as part of our ongoing efforts to upgrade the water system and improve fire protection and service. The bond resolution authorizing this work was approved at the previous Board of Trustees meeting. Item number 11 is a request for approval of 3 proposals submitted by Eagle Control Corp. Totaling $44,295 to perform work required by the New York State DEC to address violations related to chemical tank monitoring compliance. All right, under award of bids, items 12 through 22 are requests to exercise either the first or second renewal option as indicated in each item for various services and commodities provided to the village by the listed vendors. These include cleaning services, water supply, electrical services, disposal of grass, leaves, brush, and yard waste, disposal of McBrook asphalt and wood chips, DPW electrical and plumbing services, extermination services, HVAC maintenance, maintenance of sewer lift stations and well sites, streetlight poles, luminaires, and related accessories. Each of these contracts is utilized on an as-needed basis throughout the year. Item number 23 is a request to award the bid for fire hydrants and repair kits to Ferguson. This bid is used to purchase fire hydrants and repair kits that are ordered on an as-needed basis based upon unit cost. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Excellent. John, just a very broad question based on all of the renewals. That, of course, implies that we have a current business relationship, an ongoing business relationship with those companies.
That is correct. All these renewals were bid out. As a result of the bid, these contracts were awarded, and language in the contract allows us to extend the contract for additional X amount of years per that contract, each of them differently. We're happy with their performance. That's why we're looking to extend them.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Sir.
I noticed that you say first renewal. Do we have any idea if there are multiple renewals in the future? Or are there any of these items that we, after exercise of the first renewal, will have to go back and either bid out or?
Sure. So each of these contracts have different amount of renewals included in them. So based on each contract, it could be 3 years or it could be 5 years. Most recently, we've been trying to do 5-year contracts to reduce the amount of times that we have to bid them.
Excellent. Any other questions for Mr. Baroni?
Just a quick one on item number 8, the Meadow Street drainage improvements, which I believe is unrelated to the other Meadow Street project, correct?
Correct.
So could you just give us a quick update on the other piece?
Correct. So this is the supplemental design. We're currently in the final stages of the design. We're approximately 95% done. We're waiting the results of these test holes in order to finalize the design as well. We're also waiting for the grant application. We're expecting the EFC to announce awards by the end of this year. We should be ready to go by the end of this year. Obviously, there's paperwork with the grant. We got to get executed agreements and all that fun stuff before we even put a shovel in the ground.
Thank you.
Hey, John, what were the violations with the chemical bulk storage?
It had to do with monitoring the caustic soda tanks for leak detections and the actual control panels.
So was that on our part, or was that like the people who do it, or?
It was identified a number of years ago prior to my part in this position. We were notified a few days ago and we have to jump on this right away.
Thank you, John.
John, the Meadow Street drainage project, I think we put in an application for a grant. Do we have an update on the status of the grant?
Sure. So we applied for the grant and we're just kind of holding right now. They're expected to announce awards by the end of this year.
John, I got 2 quick things for you. Follow up on that again, because a lot of people have been asking about that. So best case scenario, if everything goes according to plan, when would that project start and approximately how long would it take to do that Meadow Street?
Hard to determine when it would start
Yeah.
due to the agreements that are necessary with the grant applications. And you gotta make sure you have the right paperwork sent to the right person, the right approvals all in place. Probably a few months, I would say.
Would you be talking
before
about
that.
spring or summer of next year? Is that realistic or not?
At spring.
Okay, good,
Spring.
great, okay.
And it would
terrific.
probably last about 8 to 10 months.
Okay, great, terrific. And then last one, can you just give us an update? Again, a lot of people have been asking, I put out something there on it. I know you're putting up the lights today, new lights up at the library parking lot and redoing that parking lot. Can you give us an update on timing there and what you're doing up there quick?
Sure. So the lights are scheduled to mostly be completed by the end of this week.
Yeah.
The concrete contractor is scheduled to begin work next week, I believe Tuesday or Wednesday. That should take about a week or so, and then milling and paving shortly right after that.
Terrific. Is there new drainage going in that parking lot or are we using the existing drainage?
No, we're using the existing drainage. It's
Okay,
tied
great.
positively out to 7th Street.
Okay, terrific, terrific. Yeah, the lights, I was by there today. The lights look dynamite, look really good. Great. Thanks, John.
Most welcome.
Excellent. We will move on. I'm just going to jump over Treasurer Wu. Treasurer Wu is going to have a very nice treasurer's report on fiscal year 24-25 that was just put in the books. And we'll go right to Mr. Giovanello. Buildings.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. The Building Department doesn't have anything on the formal agenda this evening. Just want to give the board an update on the September performance. The Building Department has issued 124 permits, performed 194 inspections, addressed and completed 56 complaints, issued 114 COs, and collected a revenue fee of $149,000 for the month of September. If the board has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Anything for Mr. Giovanelli? Yes. Vin.
I just got one. Can you give us a quick update, Giuseppe, on the Edgemere Firehouse with getting in bids and kind of moving down the path there and talking to everybody else?
So we're still in the process of, we eliminated actually most of the contractors that bid due to some errors in their proposal, their bids. And we narrowed it down to one particular contractor, which was still running over numbers and so forth with that. So we're just about almost complete with that. We did reach out to a couple of our on-call contractors as far as getting some bids on those contractors, and we happened to switch off one of the contractors, which is the mechanical, and we are working closely with him to try and narrow down that number as far as the mechanical portion, because the bid came in a lot lower than was expected in the bid. So we're still working with that, and hopefully I should have a number before the board, completed number before the board. I would say the next couple of weeks.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Any other questions for Mr. Giovanelli? Okay, moving right on to Mr. Hill of REC. But before you go on there, Mr. Andy, we just want to take a moment. We have hired, ladies and gentlemen, a permanent head, a superintendent of Parks and Rec, who will be starting in a couple of weeks. And Andy has been stepping in after Paul Blake stepped down. It was probably a September ago, probably at least 14, 15 months. And we wanted to take maybe double that in reality. But Andy Hill has done an extraordinary job for us. He has literally worked around the clock, and I know that Trustee Muldoon has worked very closely with him over the last year and change, and I know Ralph is too. So I'll just turn it over to Mr. Vin.
Yeah. I think the gentleman we hired for the position is going to be fantastic. And I also talked to Andy, and I think they will work extremely well together. And yeah, I've probably spent the most time with Andy since he got thrown in at the deep end, is the best way to describe it, when Paul obviously retired. Big shoes to fill, but I will tell you, Andy did a heck of a job, gave it 1,000%, and we're lucky to have him short term to fill the gap that we needed in a tough time. And I think he's going to do an incredible job with the new head of REC. And we all appreciate all your hard work and your effort, Andy, especially having a new baby and spending a lot more time than you probably thought when you signed up and said, I'll help you guys out. So a million thanks and great job, and look forward to decades of great service with the village. Thank you.
Well, if I could just say a few words. When I first addressed Andy by his name, I called him Richard, which I'm going to start again. But it's been an incredible year. I just want to say thank you. I've done a tremendous job. I've enjoyed working with you. You really took the bull by the horns, and it's been a lot of fun. Well, continue, not go anywhere, continue to work with you, but I'm looking forward to the new gentleman who's joining us. I think you'll work great together. I told Andy when I broke the news to him, I said, it's good news and bad news. And he said, what's the good news? I said, we hired someone to fill Paul's job. He said, what's the bad news? I said, he's British too, but he's really not. Anyway, thank you.
That's great, Andy. And do you have a report, young man?
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. Well, thank you for that. I've really enjoyed it. So it's been a lot, but it's been a great learning experience. And I'd like to thank everybody around this table and the board for their support. I've never felt like I've been out of my depth, and that's because I've been able to lean on the people I work with who've been very willing to help me. So I couldn't have done it on my own. So thank you to these guys who all stepped up and helped me out. Yeah, so Recreation and Parks has 2 items on the formal agenda this evening. Item number 5 is the St. Paul's Turf Field and acceptance of a revised proposal. So board authorization is requested to approve the revised proposal submitted by the Lantec Group under the Suffolk County contract. The revised proposal includes the board requested change from the field turf product to the Tenkate product that we talked about at the last meeting. And in addition to that, as per recommendation of the village insurance advisor, OCP insurance will be purchased at a cost of $3,496. The total cost of the project is $1,338,044, and funds are available in the approved St. Paul's Turf Field capital budget. And item number 6 is board authorization is requested for the village to execute an agreement with the Adelphi University for the use of their indoor pool for our Learn to Swim program. This program will begin on December 6th and conclude on February 28th with a makeup date of March 7th. The use rental fee of $4,000 has been waived, but we do pay a reimbursement cost of $1,200 for Adelphi staffing costs. So they provide their own lifeguards whilst we're in the water, obviously giving the instruction. Funds are available in the special program service budgets, and Village Council has approved this agreement and approved it as to form. And that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I just had a quick one, Andy, on the swimming activity over at Adelphi. What's the average age of the participant, and do they actually receive lessons? Is that the goal here?
Yeah, so it's similar to what we offer in the pool in the summer, where I believe it starts at 6 years old and goes up to. We're probably not getting many kids over the age of 11, 12 that are coming down, but we offer different degrees of levels, beginner levels, intermediate levels, and so forth. So a level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And yeah, we actually, a number of our lifeguards from the summer swimming pool have WSI's water safety instructor certifications. And we'll onboard them as part-timers for the winter, and they'll conduct the lessons under the guise of Jim Stedman, who's been our guy doing this for years. He's also the gentleman who runs our Red Cross lifeguarding courses down at the pool, and he oversees the whole program throughout the winter.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Both of my kids were in that program. In the winter, and they attended the pool program in the summer. It's amazing because my son barely took any lessons. That's where he learned how to swim and all different styles, just with the Garden City pool programs. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Hill?
Yeah, Andy, I got just a couple of quick updates, if you can, on the slide of the swimming pool, Clwyd, and the field house. Just kind of where we're at. There's where we're at.
So the slide, the contract was fully executed today, I believe, or yesterday. I spoke to Norberto, who are the company who are coming in to do it, and they are ready to go as soon as we get the PO. The requisition, I believe, is in it. We were just waiting for the full execution of the contract before we converted the requisition to a purchase order. As soon as we get that, we'll send it to them. They have a lot of work on, so they're keen to get in now and do the demolition, and then it will just be a case of waiting for the slide to be manufactured and delivered to us, and then they'll put it up once it comes. So I spoke to them then. He said there's no problem with timing. He just wants to get in and get the demolition done so that he can then go to his other work and then get back to the slide. And once that is delivered, I had a meeting yesterday, day before. I was off yesterday, so it was the day before, with Milburn Flooring, who are doing the Clwyd Hall stage and the floor, and with Dennis O'Regan, who's the electrician, and with Energy Mechanical. We all met together to go over a plan, and the floor is going to go in first, and then the AC units are going to go in after that. And Milburn are looking to start on the first week of November, and they think they'll be finished before Thanksgiving. And then the AC units for the field house are bigger units, and it's going to take a little bit longer. They've got to lay concrete pads and do a duct work for that. But I asked them if we would lose use of the courts, and they said the majority of their work will be on the outside of the building, so they don't foresee us having much disruption to our programming. Obviously, with replacing the floor, we will disrupt slightly the dance program. They'll have to relocate, but Felicia's already aware of that, and she's starting to put in the plans to move them, because we said the dance program is so successful, but there's never really much of a break until the summer.
Yeah.
And we don't want to wait until the summer because of the temperature and everything. And so we said, let's just get it done as quickly as we can get it done and then let people use it. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, and on that air conditioning system on the field house, who's doing the concrete pads? I know you got the concrete pads, you got the units, you got the ductwork, and then they're going to cut holes in the cinder block and in it goes. Who's responsible for that?
Energy Mechanical
They're gonna take care
included
of
that in their revised
Yeah, we
bid, so
talked
they're
about
gonna
that. I just didn't get it.
So they're I think they're gonna come in and sooner than and get those things, some of the pads and the prep work done as soon as they can, and then
While the weather is good.
yeah.
And then last but not least, when does Landtech think they will be ready to roll over at St. Paul's? We talking still November or?
Yeah, I spoke to them last week to ask if they were able to hold on for the PO until after the meeting today. And they said, yeah, it wouldn't delay anything. They would still be looking at getting in early November. And they've said, particularly in the last few years, obviously you can't guarantee anything, but the much colder weather normally comes around February. So they are optimistic that they might not get any weather disruptions. But if they do, they just take a pause and then they get back to it when they can get back to it. But we're still on track to start mid-November.
Great. Yeah, the key there is to have it ready for the kids in spring. Okay, so great stuff. Thanks, Andy.
Anyone else? Question for Mr. Hill? Thank you very much. And before we move to the commissioner, I'll just add two items from the formal agenda. Number one, which is the St. Paul's turf infill. As some of you might remember, last meeting on October 9, we had a discussion about the infill. We authorized, of course, that Landtech Group be awarded the contract, but there was more contemplation that needed to be done by the board on the infill. So the agenda item states board authorization is requested to approve the green rubber infill, aka CRM chill fill, for the St. Paul's turf field as part of the proposal from the Landmark Group. That's number one. And then number two, of course, is the appointment of Andy's successor, more or less. That is Matt Nort. He is currently residing in Danbury as chairman of the Board of Commissioners of the Cultural and Recreational Affairs in the Village, effective November 3rd, 2025, for the balance of the official year ending on April 6, 2026, at a salary of $145,000. Thank you. Hold all your questions to the end. Thank you. Next, we will move to the commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have anything on the agenda, but I have two announcements. This Saturday, we'll be doing the drug take back. It's a national day at DEA, National Drug Take Back Day. As always, we will be ready to accept any and all unneeded medications for the safe disposal. Again, this removes unused, expired, and unwanted medications from your cabinet, so that helps the safety of the people in the residences. And also, it's great for the environment because we ship it out, we have a special deal, and it gets done a safe way. It is disposed of. So again, I left a bunch of pamphlets out in the back. If anybody wants to pick one on the way out, it'll also be on our website, and it's been also given out as a press release. I also just remind everybody, Halloween's coming up, and please, everybody using the road, please use it safely. Parents, please make sure your children are in clothing that we can see at night. And there's a lot of tips. Again, we have a press release out on this. It's also on our website, and also have it on the back room for pickup. Good tips for your children. That's really good stuff. And I think it helps. We want the children to have a good, safe day, but we also want them to be, careful what they do, and also remind motorists that that's a day where everybody's coming out, and it is a Friday night. I also, a couple of things I want to say. Andy, I just want to thank you for everything you've done. I know you're still here, but but you helped me. This year is a funny year. He helped me with the honeybee invasion, and we had a couple of honeybee invasions. I mean, big time. I never seen anything like it. And Andy was right there with me. I think we both got stung together, but it was, but I tell you, we learned a lot, and Andy put me in the right direction to find beekeepers. And And we found a beekeeper, 85 years old, and he went in there without any mask or anything else and got stung a few times, and he was happy. I mean, Andy just smiled at him. So, but again, thank you very much for everything. And also, I want to thank Recreation, DPW, and the board for helping me set up the press conference last week. I thought it was very well, it was well run, and I think it's a good representation of everybody here and the department. And I'll take any questions if anybody has any for me.
Thank you, sir.
No questions. However, I will use a phrase that the commissioner gives me on occasion is, let me give you a little color, which basically means not everything that you see is it. And the reason for this is there are occasions in which residents have expectations of what the department can do on 7th Street with regard to all of the miscreants who decide that a U-turn is the proper course. Well, here's the problem. The problem is the department has a limited number of officers. And if any of those officers either go out on Lodi, line of duty injury, or go out sick, it does affect what availability is for a particular tour. Now, the parking enforcement agents cannot issue tickets for moving violations. So if you see them in an event where they do a U-turn, the best the traffic enforcement agent can do is wait for that car to stop, because it's basically going to stop at the wrong place, and then give it that ticket. And the problem with the activity on 7th Street can both best be compared to whack-a-mole, in which you can only react when it occurs. And the ability of the department to have an office there all the time is a consideration that this board is going to have to make on the amount of staffing that we have or do not have. So if we want to have a action, the board is going to have to understand that there's a cost factor. The other one is, for want of a better term, technology is blossoming. And I had the opportunity to see some of the photographs that were taken by the drone when they had the protests around Nassau County headquarters. They're great. It's very effective. It's a technology that can be used, and in cooperation with other departments, when they can or need to hand off an event, which we had recently, in which Nassau County called Garden City because one of the people that they were chasing became into the village. We had the technology in which we could find them day or night. So as the commissioner says, here's some more color. Things happen that you don't see happening, but they happen more often than one would imagine. Thank you, Commissioner, for the efforts of your department.
Thank you, sir. And just an update too on 7th Street. The last 10 days, we have over 104 moving tickets and 71 U-turn violations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That
Thank
is
you.
good news and bad news at the same time.
I just want to have a comment on the prescription drug take back day. The EAB recently, I think it was 2 weeks ago, did an environmental tip on this, just to raise awareness. Saturday is the day, it's the National Prescription Drug Take Back Day. So there are different locations set up for this, but at the police department, it's every day, right? If you just enter the department, it's right by the entrance. There is a collection box where residents could put their expired drugs there anytime, as long as the police department is open. It's not just on one day.
Yeah, so we work that day with them. We collect a lot on that day, but it's 24/7. We do about 30 pounds every 2 or 3 weeks. And it works, and we're 24/7. So if you're coming home from work at 2 in the morning, we're up.
Oh, it's 24/7.
We
It's
never
not
sleep.
just the work
No,
hours.
we're up, we're all the time. So anytime you want to come in, we're there. And hopefully we'll have a smile for you.
Great, and no sharps, right?
No sharps. If you
no
have a
needles,
sharp-
no EpiPens, no needles.
Yeah, anything considered a sharp, any with a sharp object, you could go to a hospital. They're required to have it, and also, believe it or not, the nursing homes are required to have it. But we have a hospital right down the block, and I've never had an issue with anybody I sent up there. And they seem pretty good up there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Just had one question. for the
Yes, one
commissioner.
question here.
One question. What's the fine for a U-turn? What do we charge?
It's, I believe it's 150 plus 93 surcharge. It's
Okay.
243 total.
Is there any latitude to raise the fee, or does the state have any?
There's a guideline they have to go by. It's called McGill's. And they usually go by that, so it's within the range. Normally, we're on the higher end of the range, but that's about it. But again, that's up to the judge. The judge, sometimes it could be a different fee, or it could be lower, or it could be community service. But the fine is 150 plus 93.
It would be helpful if we maxed it out, just as a,
I believe it might be maxed out.
Okay.
So-
Maxed out, and it's on the sign.
That is.
All right.
Yeah, just, it says there are 2 points on your license on the side.
Yes, it's 2 points.
Heavy. Excellent. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you,
Chief
sir.
Doughton, please. To you.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. Fire Department doesn't have any items on the formal agenda this evening. Happy to bring up any topics anyone may have. Just as a reminder, daylight savings time is approaching. So as a reminder, when you change your clocks, make sure to change your smoke alarm batteries as well. We did recently have a house fire, and luckily the smoke detector did save the person's life. And today we also responded to a house where they left a pot on the stove, but luckily the automatic alarm reminded them, and they only burnt their dinner. So take out for them. So just as a reminder, please make sure to change the batteries in your smoke detector.
Excellent, Chief. Any questions for the chief?
I just got a quick one for you. Update on the renovation at the main firehouse. How are we looking down the home stretch?
Looking pretty good. We've got
Great.
about 2 weeks left.
Perfect. Okay.
Anticipated to be done November 7th. They just epoxied the floors. We just got to put in some appliances, and we should be back up
Awesome.
and running.
Great. That's great news. Sure.
It is.
That.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for the chief? Seeing that there are none, we'll move to Mr. Fishberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing on the agenda. There's an item under finance, which actually I generated, which is the tax surcharge settlements. There are 7 settlements for board approval on the calendar. Any questions?
Yeah, I just have one. And it relates to just generally the settlements. How do they happen?
How do they happen?
Yeah, what's the process? Not in any particular one, just in general.
Well, first, what happens with these tax cert matters is that the petitioner's attorneys usually wait 4, 5, 6, 7 years before they put one of their parcels on the calendar. So you'll see almost in every one of these cases, we're talking about refunds for 5 or 6, maybe 7 years. What happens is they file for a reduction in the assessment. There's a process called a capitalization of income approach. That's how the value of these buildings are determined. They always come in with settlements from the county. I can tell you that of the 7 items on this agenda, the total refunds are about $164,000. If we relied on the county settlement, if we mirrored the county settlement, it would have been $262,000. Would have been almost $100,000 more, because hopefully we're a little tougher with these petitioners' attorneys. And I pride myself in hoping to do a better job in convincing them that the properties are worth more than they're suggesting they're worth. What happens is after you get the value, you determine the value of the property based on this capitalization of income approach, which is basically looking at the income and expenses of the building and then capitalizing it by a certain percentage, which represents the cost of lending, and there are different factors that go into that. You get a value for the building, and then the state promulgates what's called there's a ratio that the state promulgates, because our assessments are based on a percentage of full value. And generally speaking, where that percentage is, I
That's
forgot
okay. That's all right. It's fine.
what the current percentage is, but it's,
Yes.
I'm going to say it's about 12% or something like that. Don't hold me to that. So that's how it.
Excellent.
And
Thank you. Yeah, no, sorry to put the audience through that, but it just, and making sure everyone here is still with me. But thank you very much, Gary. Thank you. No, we should. Yeah, I had an idea, but not that detailed. Now we'll turn to the village administrator, Mr. Swazi.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, trustees, members of the public. Mayor, the administration department has nothing on the agenda, but there's a Board of Trustees item on the agenda tonight, and that is the ratification of the stipulation of agreement with the Civil Service Employee Association, which is our rank and file unit. I just want to thank the board. I want to thank you in particular, Mayor, for your attendance and participation at these negotiations, Ms. Wu, Labor Council Kurtz, and the rank and file negotiating team. There was good communication on both sides, resulting in a good contract for both the village and our employees.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Oh. Thank you. For those watching at home, there was an addendum to the date on the agenda item. And the village clerk pointed it out. Thank you very much, Kelly. Are there any questions for Mr. Swazi? All right, so now we will move to the star of the show, the treasurer, Ms. Wu. Now, you do have some items on the agenda. Would you go through those first?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'll go over the two items on the agenda. Item number one is a transfer of funds. Board authorization is requested to transfer $100,000 to the litigation account from contingency. This is for the continuation of work related to the casino matter for Sive Paget. Item number two is board authorization is required to accept the deferred compensation audit report. This is the audit of the employees' deferred compensation plan. Because we are not on the state plan, New York State requires us to conduct an annual independent audit and provide it to them. So we are on a calendar basis for the deferred comp audit. So we just concluded that audit for the 2024 calendar year. And item number three was covered by Mr. Fishberg.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. So I'd like to give the board an update. We just concluded is this on? Okay. We just concluded the 24-25 fiscal year-end audit, and we officially closed the books last week. So I'd like to give the Board of Trustees an update on where we landed for the 24-25 fiscal year. We'll start out by looking at the general fund summary of revenues. We adopted 24-25 budget revenues in the amount of $67.4 million. That budget throughout the year was modified to $68.6 million. So there were several events throughout the year that modified the budget. And some of these items include the police department received a $465,000 LETech grant. We adjusted the budget to transfer $268,000 from the termination reserves. There was a $206,000 transfer from the Capital Projects Fund for projects that were completed, and this was unused budget. We received $171,000 from crime proceeds, and that's the police department again. And we also received $91,000 in ARPA funding that was used. So that makes up the $1.2 million difference between the adopted budget and modified budget. At the end of the year, we actually received $69.7 million, which was $1.1 million greater than the modified budget. As you can see, the building department received almost $300,000 more in building permit fees due to a larger volume of applications this year. Police and court revenues were higher by $558,000. $367,000 of that was for fines and fees, additional fines and fees collected over the budget. Again, $93,000 from forfeiture of crime proceeds and grants. As you recall, the police department received a CREST grant for the purchase of 3 police vehicles last year. Other general includes $679,000 of interest income. We started out the year with higher interest rates. They gradually started going down, but we did very well investing in New York Class, which is a New York cooperative program. We also received the $339,000 from the Community Benefit Fund for the completion of the work on Maryland Avenue. And we also received another CREST grant in the amount of $159,000 for the Cherry Valley Sidewalks project. Slightly offsetting these favorable variances, the Recreation and DPW departments came in a bit under budget. Recreation had less program revenues that they received, and DPW received less in sidewalk reimbursements than anticipated in their budget. Next slide shows the general fund summary expenditures. Our adopted budget, expenditure budget was $70.2 million. It was modified throughout the year and increased to $72.2 million. The $2 million includes prior year encumbrances. So when we have open purchase orders at the end of the year, those purchase orders roll into the new fiscal year, and we had $813,000 of purchase orders that rolled into this year, so that modifies the budget by that amount. And then we also modified the budget for the same items that we modified the revenue budgets. When the revenues go up, the expenses go up as well. The tech grant was utilized. That increased the expense budget of the $465,000, termination reserves. We had the termination payouts, etc. We ended the year at $68.7 million. We encumbered at this fiscal year end an additional $611,000, which left us with unencumbered balance of $2.9 million. Overall, most of the departments were favorable to the budget as a result of open positions or filling positions at lower salaries, or the gap between someone, retiring and filling the position. We also had less part-time help and overtime expenses, and as a result, there was less benefit and taxes paid out as well. So those variances totaled about $1.3 million. We also had lower than anticipated expenditures in consulting and contractual services, judgments and claims. Judgments and claims are the tax certs for the most part that Mr. Fishberg talked about. We had less settlements, less gas and oil and utility expenses as well. On the next slide, we show the other funds of the village. We have the enterprise funds, which are the pool, tennis, and water funds. The pool fund receives a contribution from the general fund in 24-25 of $644,000. $300,000 of that is related to capital improvements and the depreciation expense that the general fund helps to contribute In the past, the pool fund was not able or is not able to sustain all the capital improvements and expenses related to that. And as a result, they had a negative net position. So a few years back, the Board of Trustees decided to pay for the capital improvements because it is seen as a village asset. And over the last couple of years, that has brought the pool into a positive net position, which makes New York State and Moody's very happy to see that the pool fund is now in a positive net position. The $344,000 additional contribution came from ARPA funds, and this was to pay for the pool playground equipment project that went on last year. On the operating side, the pool was favorable by $100,000, and $75,000 of that was related to higher interest income received. The tennis fund also had higher interest income of about $35,000 and saw higher open time court sales of $36,000. The water fund was favorable by $13.7 million. The water fund received $6.2 million in the New York State grants for the water well treatment projects. As you recall, the New York State EFC Corporation approved the village for $21.6 million in water grant revenues to offset the AOP water well treatment projects, which cost about $50 million. And we received about, we received 21.6 to date. We were approved for about 25.6 million. The water fund also received a PFAS settlement in the amount of 5.8 million. Premium on securities for the financing that was done in February of 1.2 million. And also saw higher metered water sales versus the budget of $332,000. The next fund is the capital fund. The adopted budget for the capital fund was $3.9 million. That's the amount of property tax, that's the amount of taxes that's allocated to contribute towards the capital projects. That's the amount that's not bonded. And the modified budget is $21.2 million. The difference between that is $16.5 million of bond resolutions that were adopted, as well as an additional $711,000 that was allocated from the general fund to fund additional projects. Again, one of the projects was the $465,000 for the police department technology. We had $160,000 allocated for the toll house renovation. We had $66,000 allocated for the library carpet project, and $20,000 for repairs on the St. Paul's roof. The actual revenues received was $11.6 million, and the difference between the budget and actual is the actual bond proceeds that were received. We bond for projects at their completion. We set up the bond resolutions at the start of the project, but then we just finance them at the completion of the project. So that accounts for the difference between the actual and the budget. The insurance reserve, this is the risk management fund of the village. This fund is set up to house all the general liability and workers' compensation, insurance premiums, claims, and deductibles. Every fund of the village contributes a proportionate share into this fund. So you have the general fund, the library, pool, water, and tennis funds all contribute to pay for these expenditures. We actually received $4.5 million in revenues, and this was due to $108,000 in additional interest income and a decrease in the projected general liability based on the actuarial report that we receive on an annual basis. The next slide shows the other funds summary expenditures. The pool, tennis, and water fund all experienced favorable variances as a result of lower salaries, benefit, and taxes. In addition, the tennis fund also had lower depreciation expense due to the deferred project. The tennis vinyl covering project has been deferred. The insurance reserve fund, you see, has a deficit. We purposely budget a deficit in this fund because over the last several years, this fund has experienced an increase in their surplus. And this fund is meant to, just pay for these insurance premiums, claims, and deductibles. But the, surplus has been increasing. So the contributions from all the other funds, we've been reducing that over the last few years just to get the surplus levels lower. The capital fund, again, we're seeing an increase from the adopted budget to the modified budget. For capital projects, any encumbrances or purchase orders that remain open roll into the new year, as well as any unencumbered balance, which means if a project has been funded for a certain amount and there's available funding there that has not been used, that rolls into the next year. So from the previous year to this year, we rolled about 21.1 million of purchase orders and unencumbered funds. So that raised the modified budget. You see it raised from 3.9 to 42 million. And we also added 16.5 million of bond resolutions, so that just increases the budget. For the full year, we actually had expenditures of 19.5 million, and we encumbered 6 million. So the unencumbered balance is 16.7 million. So the sum of the 16.7 and the 6 million will roll into the 25-26 fiscal year. I provided a report to the board if you're interested in seeing the details of these numbers. And at the next meeting, I'll provide an update on those projects as well. The next slide shows the overtime by fund and department. So village-wide, the overtime expenditures. We see from the adopted budget to the modified budget, there were 3 departments that had increases in the general fund. The police, recreation, and DPW departments saw increases in overtime. Police, mostly due to the cricket tournament, and those overtime expenses were covered by their crime proceeds funding. Recreation had an increase in overtime. I'm sure you recall last year there were many projects going on around the village, beautification projects, and also projects that were done every few years, landscaping projects. So that caused a lot of that overtime. And DPW had increased due to snow events, snow removal costs. Oh, whenever you want to ask a question, I can stop. Yes, so that is, you look at the variance under the general fund. So our actual budget, modified budget, was 2.1 million, but we, at the end of the year, only wound up spending 1.9. Do you see that variance of 102? Yeah, so that's it. Yes. So it's modified budget versus actual. Yes. You're welcome. Okay, so the next slide shows the fund balance. Fund balance is mostly updated at year end. And so fund balance really is equal to assets minus liabilities. Fund balance, we have are classified for governmental funds. We have 3 funds that are classified as governmental funds. They're a general fund, capital fund, and the library fund. Within the fund balance, there are 4 categories. Non-spendable, which is in the general fund, and this is equal to inventory, the cost of inventory. The second category is restricted fund balance. These are funds that are legally restricted for a specific purpose. In the general fund, we have the termination reserves, the reserves for bonded debt, which, when there's a bonded project and there's unused funds or, excess funds, they're transferred to the reserve for those bonded projects, and it's that those funds are used to pay back the principal and interest on that debt. And so that's legally restricted. And then we also house the crime proceeds, because those are also legally restricted. In the capital fund, we have restricted funds, and these are obviously those bonded projects. Any funds related to those bonded projects are restricted for those particular projects. We also have a category of assigned fund balance. Assigned fund balance includes encumbrances. When we issue a purchase order, it's a promise to pay to a vendor, and the system automatically encumbers or sets aside those funds. So those are assigned for that purpose. The Board of Trustees also assigns fund balance during the budget process. Last year, every year pretty much, we assign some surplus to fund the next year's budget in an effort to keep, tax levies lower, right? So those are included in the assigned fund balance. The assigned fund balance for the capital fund funds are actually assigned by capital projects. So they're assigned to those projects. But these are typically tax revenues that are assigned to projects. The library fund, all their fund is in the assigned category because their fund balance is assigned to fund the next year's budget before the village produces any additional contributions. The last category of fund balance is unassigned fund balance, and this is pretty much surplus or it's unrestricted and can be used for any purpose. So the way fund balance works is taking the expenses and the revenues for the year into consideration. When revenues exceed expenditures, fund balance goes up. When expenditures exceed revenues, fund balance goes down. So for the general fund, as you saw in the previous pages, total revenues was 69.7 million, total expenditures were 68.7 million. So we increased fund balance by the $1 million. Okay, in the capital fund, the fund balance went down because we had more expenditures than revenues. We had more payments to vendors, projects are moving along and we're spending more, so fund balance goes down. There's a couple of things to keep into account when discussing fund balance. We look to the General Finance Officers Association for guidance. They recommend that at a minimum, municipalities should keep 2 months worth of expenditures in their unassigned fund balance. So 2 months of expenditures for the village would be about $11–12 million. However, we also look at Moody's, right? So one of the metrics that they use to assign ratings to a AAA rated community is they look at fund balance, and their calculation looks at assigned and unassigned fund balance. And you divide that by the revenues received. The ratio that comes from that should be equal to or greater than 35%. So if we take our calculation of assigned and unassigned fund balance divided by the revenues received, we get a 36.9% ratio. So we're close to a little over for the AAA rated community. So that's something to keep in mind. This one metric that Moody's uses, the fund balance metric, accounts for 20% of the overall scorecard. So of course they look at other things, but this is accounts for 20% of that calculation. So just keep that in mind. Okay, on the next slide, we're showing the rest of the major funds of the village, and they are classified through the accounting guidelines as proprietary funds. Within proprietary funds, we also have 2 classifications. We have enterprise funds and internal service funds. Of course, you've heard of the enterprise funds. They function like a business. Proprietary funds are required by GASB, Governmental Accounting Standards Board, to record and display all assets and liabilities, including long-term assets and liabilities. That's why the classification is no longer fund balance, it's now net position. The two classifications of net, or, classifications within net position are net investment in capital assets, which is all the sum total of all the capital assets, net of accumulated depreciation, and all the related debt. And the second category is unrestricted. So this is kind of like the surplus, unrestricted. So for the pool fund, as I mentioned earlier, we are now in a positive net position for the 24-25 fiscal year. There was, the revenues exceeded the expenditures, so they increased their fund balance by $541,000. The tennis fund also saw an increase in their fund balance by $86,000. And the water fund also increased their net position, I think I said fund balance before, net position by $12.2 million. The other classification of proprietary funds is the internal service fund. This is, again, the insurance reserve fund. This is the fund that is showing an excess surplus. It had, at the end of 2024, $4.8 million. And because we budgeted at a deficit at the end of 2025, it went down to $4.1 million. We will continue to reduce the contribution from the other funds into the internal service fund to get this down even lower for the next year.
What's the December? Is that December DEC?
Oh, that's increase or decrease?
Increase, decrease, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. I thought that was, because it was next to the dates.
Sorry. Okay. Okay, and the last slide shows the cash account balances and investments at the end of the fiscal year. For the operating accounts, we ended the year with $9.8 million. In the investments, the total investments, we ended the year at $51.3 million. We also show at the bottom of the slide cash accounts, but these aren't really under the village's control. We have the library trust accounts. The trust accounts they're more of a fiduciary. They hold funds that the village cannot use. It's not village funds, such as building deposit fees. Those are fees that are held and then returned at the end of when a CO is issued. And then we also have the dental insurance funds. And like I mentioned earlier, we do monitor the interest rates. We work very closely with our banks and to try to get the best interest rates for the village. We transfer funding within accounts. And right now we're getting the best interest rates from New York Class. They averaged 4.6% for the year, which is very great compared to all the other banks and investments that we see out there. We are limited in what we can invest in, but we do try to do a good job. And as you saw, the favorable variances, we did a good job of getting more interest income for the village for the fiscal year.
In that regard, Ms. Wu, would you expect, because of the current interest rate environment, that income will go down?
I
in-
do
in this
expect
fiscal
it.
year?
Of course, we're monitoring it. And of course, for the first quarter of this year, the interest rates continue to go down. So, it'll go down slightly.
And then I just had one other quick question. With regard to the insurance reserve fund and the strategy to try to reduce that, what, if anything, does that have a relation to claims that we pay out? None?
Yes, it does have a relation to that. So all the claims that go through our insurance carriers is paid through this fund, but we have been funding that every single year with no issues.
Is there a variance from year to year on the amount we pay out in claims? Like, could it be a few $100,000? Could it be $1 million? Or
We haven't seen large swings in the recent years on that.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Well, there is a misnomer when you're saying insurance, because the village self-insures itself.
Correct.
for a substantial amount.
Understand that. Yes, of course. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Ma'am.
I have three questions, two for Andy first, and you may not have this, so it might be a, follow-up. I don't want to let you go yet. The one commentary on program fees going down for recreation. As I said, if you don't have it now, it's fine, but it would be great to see an analysis of where that is being driven by. Are there particular programs that didn't do well? Was it across the board? Did you learn anything from that? So that would be one question. Go ahead.
It's not something I have now, but I
Yeah.
can tell the board that with discussions with the Recreation Commission, we're in the process of implementing a much more thorough analysis of our programs to look at where we are, not performing. And obviously with Paul leaving, me coming in, Scott's the new supervisor, there was a period of transition which was going to affect programming a little bit as well, but I can get the board, we are working on producing reports, or much more thorough reports of where our programming stands.
Great, thank you. And my second question for you is, there was the line item that said there was a savings in rec because of lower salaries. Which positions are getting paid lower? I thought a lot of them we had to raise because of the minimum wage and all that.
I think that, I think with some people retiring and people coming in those positions.
Someone retiring at the highest grade, and then you're filling that same position at the first step.
And
You know
then,
what I mean?
and
That's what I meant.
you didn't pay Paul for a year because I did it. So
And then my third question, Irene, is for you. In this audit, is there an audit report that includes audit exceptions, et cetera? And if there is, will we see that?
For the deferred comp audit? Which audit, or the year-end audit?
Year-end audit.
Yes, so we're working on putting that
Yeah.
together.
Okay.
That won't be available, so I think in November, till November.
Great.
So,
Okay,
yeah,
thank
we're
you.
doing all the analysis now. Mhm.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Sir.
Irene, how are you? Good to see you. Sorry for making you turn around. You can stay there. So I got a couple of things. Obviously, one of the biggest things when it comes to running a village, obviously, is your bonds, interest. It's about money, right? Borrowing money, turn. So where do you think we're at, where it looks like, obviously, with the current environment, that interest rates are slowly going to go down over the next 6 months to a year, it looks like. And then how does it affect us, like the mayor said, in regards to our own money and our own capital? And then obviously we have a lot of infrastructure projects coming down the pike here that we are not going to have a lot of choice, but we have to do them, similar to the sewer lift station over there on Cedar Valley, and multiple other projects. Where do you think we're positioned and situated right now when it comes to bonds and getting the best deals and financing and looking at those kind of infrastructure projects, especially coming up in probably 2025 into 2028, the next 2 or 3 years? Give us your general sense of where we're at with that.
Okay, so yes, we do have a big list of projects. We have, like I said, like 16.5 million of bond resolutions that the board has approved over the last year. We typically finance once a year. We go in February, we go to market. And at that time, I'll put together a list of projects that are mostly completed, so that we can finance for those projects. The reason we do that is, in the past, we used to finance at the start, like as soon as the board approved a bond resolution, we would finance to get the funding. But then change orders might come, the project could go over budget, or sometimes it came in way under budget. So we want to be able to finance the amount that's needed. So we'll wait until the project is mostly completed. We're seeing interest rates, like you said, going down, so this would be a favorable environment for us in February. The village has always seen very favorable rates because of the AAA rating, especially compared to other municipalities, even other AAA rated communities. I work very closely with Bond Counsel and Fiscal Advisor, and we try to figure out what is the best deal for the village in terms of financing timing, We look at old bonds to see if we can refinance those bonds and get better interest rates as rates go down as well. So we do our best to ensure that we're doing the best for the village. I would say that we would need to keep a close look at all the capital projects that we are planning to finance over the next few years, because we don't have that many projects rolling off. Ideally, you want to take on debt as debt is rolling off to maintain sort of like an even expense, debt service, annual debt service, because the debt service does impact your taxes, your tax levy. If you start doubling your debt service, that's principal and interest that must be paid every year. And that's embedded in your operating budget, so you have to keep an eye on that. But I think the lowering of the interest rates is good news in terms of financing.
So would you think your gut right now that as we move towards February, that we would look to maybe refinance and relook at some of those bonds if those interest rates continue to go in our favor?
We do that every year.
No matter what.
Finance, yeah, we look at the old bonds every year as a matter of exercise.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Great, terrific. Yeah, that's great. I think that covered everything I wanted to.
Before I turn it over to Rich, I just had one quick question. I know he's chomping at the bit here.
I love this stuff.
I know. Very, very valuable. Just generally, there's not a balance sheet here, of course, but where is debt and where is debt service? However, was it at the end of the fiscal year today, whatever, and this is, it's not what it should be as close to exact as but I'll just shut up now and let you answer.
Oh, no, that's fine. So at the end of the fiscal year, our general fund debt was about $35 million. Our debt service, what we pay annually in principal and interest, is approximately $4 million, I would say. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, with the new financing that I will be doing in February, that will obviously increase the debt and debt service going into next year's budget. So that's something to keep in mind.
And we generally pay off how much principal a year? Do you look at that?
The 4 million is the principal and interest.
Okay.
So it's mostly, it depends on where you are with
Got
the debt. Sometimes the interest is.
You want to look at the average life of the debt.
Mhm.
Exactly. Thank you. So I'm sorry, Rich.
No, absolutely. And thanks for putting this together, Irene. It's well done, very transparent. I think the residents can take comfort that, we budget conservatively as demonstrated by the variances that are here, both on revenue as well as on expenses. And it also shows a good control of expenses, which I think should make residents feel good. This is very transparent and very clear. Just a couple of questions. With respect to the reserve fund, the insurance reserve fund, it's about 4.1 million. Is there a limit how low we can take that down, or represents, we accrue for claims, right? We accrue our best estimate for claims, and this is the amount beyond that, I guess. Are we targeting to get it down to like 2 million, 3 million, or is?
Yes, I think my discussions with our auditors, because they raised this as a concern in the past, that is pretty high, and it kept growing. So they don't want to see it keep growing. So the fact that we don't have major claims outstanding, it doesn't seem like we need to keep 3 million, maybe take it down to 2. So that's conversations we can have. But we know for sure that we'll be reducing the contributions from the other funds in this upcoming budget, which is great because that reduces the general fund expenses. So.
And when we look at the debt, taking on new debt, is it mostly 10-year, 15? What kind of ranges do you expect to do in February as far as how long the debt will be for?
So it all depends on the probable useful life of the project, right? So that's on the bond resolution. So legally, we can bond up to that amount, but not more. So we can extend the life of the bond. We don't choose, we want to issue a 20-year bond.
Right.
It is because we're doing multiple projects, we take the weighted average of all the projects, and that's the life of the bond. So we don't choose that. But because we have combined, some projects are 20 years, some are 15 years, and some may be 10 years too. So sometimes it's 10, sometimes 15, sometimes it's 20. It depends. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And I know the water fund was generating a
surplus over the past couple of years, but I was surprised to see that the unrestricted surplus or net position correctly, is it actually declined. They went from 9 million down to
Yeah.
only $3 million unassigned. I
Mhm.
realize most of our net positions tied up in our fixed assets.
Correct.
I was just wondering what caused it to go down, I guess.
So it was the capital projects. So we used surplus to fund some of the capital projects. There was that emergency water main that was done on Community Park, right? And it needed to be done before the pool opened. So there wasn't really time to wait and do a bond resolution and wait the 30 days. So they wanted to get that project completed. So that was about $1.6 million. And then there were other capital projects that were budgeted to utilize surplus. So that accounted for the other part of that.
Will any of that come back when we bond in February, or is anything going to get refunded, or no? That's,
Of those projects, no,
Yeah.
they were budgeted to utilize
they're gonna-
surplus, but we do anticipate receiving $3 million more in New York State grants. So we're anticipating that. So that will bring us back up.
perfect. Okay. Thank
And
you.
we can talk about during the budget process whether this is a time to raise water rates as well. We haven't done that in a few years, so this may be the time to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So where are we with the
Joyce?
PFAS settlement for the water fund? We're expecting 3 million more from the New York State grants, right? So what about the PFAS settlement? Are we expecting some money from there?
Yes, so we recorded the revenue because the agreement was signed in March of the year of 2024-25, this year, 25. But the agreement it's a long-term receivable. We're receiving the actual cash over a period of about 3 to 4 years. We received in the first quarter, we received about $3 million of it, and then it's like a portion every year after that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Excuse me, are there any other questions for Treasurer Wu? Seeing that there are none, Ms. Wu, thank you very much for that very thorough.
And at the
report.
next meeting, I'll give an update on the first quarter of the year as well.
Excellent. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thanks, Irene.
Thank you. All right, now we'll move to, we have a Chamber of Commerce young lady here stepping in for Mr. W. I know, apologies for having to wait. Thank you, ma'am. For John Wilton, of course.
To me.
There we go, good.
So good evening, everyone. I'm here for John Wilton. My name's Tara Walsh. I'm the Vice President of the Chamber. So here are the things he'd like you to know. The banners and the triangle flags were taken down today with the help of John Baroni and his crew. The new banners will be put up shortly. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony today at Uncle Louie G's. Great addition to the community. The Bare Naked Bakery will be on November 6th and Tate will be on November 13th. We had the cornstalk beautification installation project began. They're all up. We have the flyers going on all of those shortly. The next GC Connect will be in January, again at Adelphi. Anthony Passaro reached out to John to facilitate a resolution on some of the restaurant rear cleanliness, and he started reaching out to a few of those companies. We are talking about the Christmas window decorating contest, so that's in the works. We're hoping that a lot of the businesses will participate. And finally, we are honoring our Business Person of the Year, who is Caitlin Woods from Adelphi. She's going to be recognized at the Nassau County Council of Chamber breakfast on October 31st at Crest Hollow.
Excellent.
That's it.
Great.
Thank you, Ms. Tara. Appreciate it very much. All right, now we will move to citizen comments on agenda items. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? Mr. Salem.
I have a question about how St. Paul's financing will affect the budget as you look forward. I know there's a lot of variability in the equation, but it looks like we're going to be going ahead with some expense for St. Paul's. But is there any timing of all that? Sorry for the
I-
question. It's got no answer, I guess.
No, well, yes, there's no specific answer, Mr. Salem,
Yeah.
and the treasurer will be advising us on those matters. But as we are still balancing all of the interests and considering many different options, we don't have any numbers, and there is certainly a level upon which we would have to seek the approval of the residents. But my understanding is that if we do borrow some money and it's attributed to St. Paul's, it would be added to the debt of the village. Is that fair? Miss Wu?
Yes.
Is that fair? Okay, thank you.
That's all she can say?
No.
Hey, George, I got good news for you. We got big plans for St. Paul's, and possibly the way the Jets are playing, we might be a brand new stadium for the Jets. It's looking right now because they're playing so well. I think it's worth
No,
the
but
investment.
in all seriousness, when we talk to Moody's every year, are they fully aware of the challenge that the village is facing with respect to St. Paul's?
Who is that? I'm sorry, George. I did not. Moody's? I don't know. I don't
Well, no,
speak to
but,
Moody's.
Irene meets with them. Are they fully aware of the debate going on in Garden City?
Yes, we are fully transparent with Moody's in terms of the potential project with St. Paul's, and we always have that conversation with them.
But is there any visibility at all to what we're going to finance in the current fiscal year?
No, sir. No, sir. But
So we're vulnerable.
no, we aren't vulnerable. I think whatever we do will be well thought out, will be transparent, and you will know, of course, as will all the residents, and then we'll work with Ms. Wu to create financing if we even do. So, George, I can tell you that there's nothing planned specifically at all, and when there is, and even if we have to come to the residents with a bunch of ideas, we'll do that too. But we're not quite there yet, sir.
Right. And the thing I'm concerned about is the AAA rating. Would that be affected by St. Paul spending?
Correct.
Hmm?
Once here.
It depends on how much we spend, right?
Yes.
So if we spend $100 million, of course our rating's gonna go down. But if we spend $35 million, it probably won't.
Okay, there's some numbers anyway.
If they're-
All right, on a less important issue, on Monday nights, we have bridge at the senior center. And last Monday, I attended my village, meeting, bridge playing that night. I arrived at 7 PM at the senior center, and the lights are out, and the room is dark, everything is dark, and I was told by an attendant that there was a power failure and the senior center was not going to be in business on Monday night. I also noticed around, it wasn't just the same senior center power failure. I don't know, it would seem to be pretty widespread. I don't know how far that was.
Would you like some color on that? Do we have any color on that, Mr.
Why did
Brody,
it
or
happen?
anyone at the table?
Why did it
I'm
happen?
sorry, it was last Monday night. Was it this
Yeah.
past Monday or was it
Yeah.
a week ago?
Past Monday.
Past Monday.
So we were made aware of the power outage. There is a backup generator there. We had our maintenance guys go over, check it out. We're having our service people for the generators come to look at it to make sure it's operating properly.
And it was not at the time, or,
Correct, was not at the time.
and do we know how long the electric service was out, electrical was out?
No.
Okay, all right.
When
Do you have
did
a
we know
comment?
that it happened?
Mr. Commissioner?
There was a accident on Franklin and Old Country
It took out 3 lights, the power outage, so that might have something to do with it. It's right down the block.
Okay.
Could have been a transformer. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Commissioner.
wire, actually the wire burnt. The wire that holds it up,
But did, okay.
and then it just took out the 3 lights, so it was the power outage due to that.
Excellent.
When did the lights go out? When did the power fail?
I believe it was around 6:30.
Hmm.
And then we had to get PSE&G and the lighting company to come down and get everything down. But they had a dangerous situation because it was arcing. It actually melted. The guide wire melted.
Hmm. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. And thank you, gentlemen, at the table. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to make a comment on an agenda item? Seeing that there's none, we will quickly go to Zoom. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to comment on an agenda item? Seeing that there is none, we will move on. And what we'll do is we're going to vote, and Mr. Fishberg, I just need a little advice here. We'll vote on the formal agenda first, and we should take them item by item, correct? Okay, thank you. All right, so moving to the voting portion of the evening, the formal agenda, number 1.
Can I make a comment on the,
Yes, you can, of course.
right now?
Of course.
Okay. So regarding the formal agenda, about the turf infill, I would just like to say, as a mother, when my kids were little especially, I tried various of baby bottles, and there are so many different lotions and sunblocks and detergents. And I was always looking at ingredients to try to find the safest ingredients and brands as possible. And I think this same commitment to their well-being really guides my approach here with the turf fields. Michelle and I were co-chairs of the Environmental Advisory Board, and we have spent considerable time researching infill options. And there are several safer alternatives to chrome rubber infill that are non-toxic and free of heavy metals, PFAS, PAHs, and VOCs, the volatile organic compounds. And these options also perform better in terms of heat management, and they have great shock absorption. And we believe, or I believe, they represent a responsible and forward-thinking choice for our fields. So I have a son who loves playing soccer, and when I drive by St. Paul's, usually you see very little kids, 3, 4-year-olds, some just out of diapers, enjoying soccer at St. Paul's Field. And that just reinforces my commitment to advocating for materials that prioritize their health and safety. So tonight, I would just like to respectfully abstain from this vote on Greenfield because I believe there should be continued exploration on the turf infill, especially for the future. When we look at even playgrounds and other fields and surfaces, I think that's something we should really take great consideration.
Thank you very much.
I will also be abstaining from the vote on this because I feel the EnviroFill is an option that we really have not thoroughly explored, and we're just going with the green rubber infill without taking a lot of time to look at the other options. My children are no longer playing on these fields, and I'm surprised that there's not been more of a response from the residents of the town about the options that we're looking at for infill, because it is very serious. And if we look at the Brooklyn Bridge Park League, which is very, very big in the city, they use the EnviroFill. And that's where my children do play right now as adults. So I am concerned about it. So we will be abstaining. Jessica and I.
Thank you very much, Trustee Harrington. Any other comment before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor of agenda item number 1? Or I should say, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor of formal agenda item 1, please raise your hand. All opposed? Abstain. 602. Thank you very much. On formal agenda item number 2, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All in favor? Carries 8-0. Thank you. Moving to the consent calendar.
Mayor, I have number 6.
You do. Okay. Any explanation, trustee?
Yeah. To recuse myself.
Oh, you do. Okay.
So we remove 15, you vote on everything else, and then you.
1 through, absolutely. Thank you. All right. So do I have a motion on the consent calendar number 1 through 14 and 16 through 23?
So moved.
All in favor? Carries unanimously. And then on number 15, just for the record, which is disposal of mixed broken asphalt, first renewal. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. All in favor? All opposed or abstain? Abstention. Thank you. 701. Thank you. All right, now we will move to citizen comment on non-agenda items. Are there any residents in the room who would like to speak on non-agenda items? I do see Mr. Alardi. Please approach the podium, young man.
Good evening, Steve Alardi, 139 Meadow Street. On the presentation from Ms. Wu, the DPW decrease in revenue of 873 for the sidewalk reimbursement, is that because residents did the sidewalks on their own? So the village didn't really lay out the money, so they didn't get it back. It's really not a loss, right? Okay.
Is there a yes? Could somebody answer affirmatively? Thank you. Or no?
Ms. Wu spoke enough tonight.
So that's correct. So we budget for the full amount of the repairs. We put people on notice. That year, the rates were high from that contractor. A lot of people went private, which is
Okay.
how it's shown.
And 67 Hilton. I think I parked over there when I came to the 9/11 ceremony. And I think the permit parking sign is at like the first spot and the last spot. But in between, you really don't know that those spots are permit only.
Signage, do you think is your point that we need better signage?
Well, I think it would help. I think other parking lots, you have different colored stalls. So if they were painted yellow and like a sign at the entranceways said like the yellow parking spots were permit only. Because I could see you drive down this like 12 permit spots and there's 2 empty in the middle. You jump in, you don't see the sign on either end. So I think there are some spots, maybe 5th Street by the church that has different type of parking. And I know the library and railroad parking lot share a lot, and the library lot is yellow and the other spots are white. So that might be something.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And one other question. Are there any other apartments that have permitted spaces in the village?
Yes, it's Ms. Wu, can you share a couple, at least from memory, as best you can?
Oh, my goodness. I can't recall the building, but it's on Stewart, I believe.
Is it on s-
Commissioner, I'd have some information on that, wouldn't you, Commissioner?
About what apartments have permits?
Yes. No. Yeah. Well, who
Building,
has to pay?
building.
Who has to pay?
There's-
Which
there's
apartment buildings?
There's a building
I know
that has runoff spots because they do have private, but some residents have 2 cars.
Okay.
So we allow like 35 of the 97 spots.
111 7th Street?
111 7th Street, that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then is there one on the other side of Franklin?
No, it's
No.
just 67 Hilton and 111.
111.
Okay.
good.
And does 111 pay?
Yes, the same rate.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
If I may just echo what Mr. Ilardi mentioned about the signage in parking lot 7N. I do think that's a good idea to make it more visible about those spots requiring permits. I agree, it's hard to see, especially if you're in the middle of those spots. If we could maybe just put some, close, they are now they're at two ends, so it's very hard to see if you're in the middle. I agree with what.
Certainly something to look
Steve
at.
mentioned.
And on that note too, I pulled down a couple of branches that were covering one of those signs, just when you go into that parking lot on the right, I think we need to get, and I think Andy, this would fall under your, some of the guys out there, the back of 111, that whole area as you go down towards Key Food, all those spots that are open, they're not permitted, they're open, but all those bushes have grown out and they're actually grown out in front of the spaces. And I made a video, but I don't know if I sent one. You probably didn't get that one. I think I forgot it. That's why it's good to mention it. But all that, and it might be actually the buildings stuff, you know what I mean? But that whole thing needs trimmed because it's actually completely covering multiple signs completely. So people are like, what is this area here? And I meant to say it. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, so I believe there was a lady who reached out about that to get clarification on what belonged to the building, what belonged to us. I actually have it on my list of to-do things to have that conversation and figure out what we're going to do.
That and the other side, just when you come into the parking lot on the right, those are all permitted spots there.
Yeah.
The same way, one of those signs, I broke off a bunch of limbs and now it's kind of exposed, but it needs to be trimmed.
Okay.
It wouldn't take guys more than a couple hours to do it. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any other comments on non-agenda items in the room? Seeing that there are none, we will quickly move to Zoom. Are there any comments on Zoom on non-agenda items? Yes, there is one.
Yes, it's Kathleen O'Hara from Hilton Hall. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can,
Yeah.
certainly.
So just to say that there's like 525 spots at 7N, that's between Key Food and Hilton Hall. And there's approximately, and Commissioner Jackson can confirm this, there's approximately 70 that are permitted. So there's a small percentage of a little bit more than 10% of the spots are permitted. And I will say that the landscaping that needs to be done is all for property that's managed or the responsibility of the village. So Vinny, where you were talking about when you come in to the parking lot down by Hilton Hall, all of that row there is all for the village to maintain. And that's something we've had to make phone calls to the village to get that taken care of. And even along the row that is free and open, which there's probably about 60 spots that don't have a permit or don't have any time limitations, that is all handled by the village.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
If I may remind residents also, we have a village app. If we haven't said that enough, so you could take a picture, and we have a special one. I believe it's landscaping or overgrown greeneries, right? It's in the app. You could report it, and it's recorded. You get a number, and it gets taken care of, and you get notification when it's completed.
Excellent. And you get a gold star. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or, I'm sorry, any other comments on non-agenda items on the Zoom? Seeing that there are none, do I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Thank you very much, folks. See you on November 6th.